Well, good morning. My name is Cory Lee, and I'm a business coach and leadership trainer. And today I want to talk to you about curiosity, right? And you may be saying, what in the world does curiosity have to do with leadership? Well, I can tell you, getting curious and asking the question why, that is where growth is stimulated. Growth is stimulated by asking the question why, reaching your potential, getting curious about what you can accomplish and what you can achieve. George Bernard Shaw, he says, some men see things as they are and ask why, but others dream things that never were, and then they ask why not. Paul Martinelli, he's the president of the John Maxwell team, and one of the things that I've heard Paul say is, have you ever sat down to think about what it would take to make in a month what you normally make in a year? So if you normally make $50,000 a year, what would it take to make $50,000 in a month? You think about that, and most people are like, that ain't possible. That can't be true. Well, I can tell you there are people that are doing that. And have you really sat down and gotten curious about, okay, if that is possible, what would it take for me to do that? And by asking the question why and getting curious, you can figure out some steps to make that possible, right? And other leadership trainings that I've done, I've mentioned that each one of us have unique gifts, talents, and abilities that God has given us, right? And how do you know that you are not the best politician in the world? How do you know that you're not the best business owner in the world, or the best pastor or preacher in the world, or the best teacher in the world? How do you know unless you strive to do that? And if you sat down, instead of just thinking, that's not possible for me, have you ever sat down and just gotten curious and asked the question, well, if that is possible, what are the steps to make that possible? Have you ever just gotten curious? And I tell you, I've been curious for as long as I can remember. I love asking questions. I like to hear people's stories. And I see somebody that has think about the Patriots, all right, the New England Patriots. I see them, and every single year in and year out, they are good. They are competing at a high level. How is that possible when there's so much turnover in their team and the whole industry as a whole, right? How is that even possible? I see CrossFit. We have a CrossFit gym. I'm a CrossFit coach. I see CrossFit, and they took exercises that already existed, but now they've put a system in place, and they've turned it into a worldwide phenomenon, and it's on ESPN. I see Apple that started in a garage, and look where they are now. How is that possible? Well, those people that have done that, they've sat down and they've asked themselves, how can this be? Again, I've been curious for as long as I can remember. Again, I like to learn. I like to read and listen to books or podcasts, and I just like hearing people's stories. The other day this is when I'm recording this, it's the end of November, and the other day we went to go get a Christmas tree, and we stopped by this small little Christmas tree farm, and I was asking the guy, I was like, basically, his life story. How did he get to this point? How'd you get into the tree selling business? I just was curious about what made this guy want to start selling trees, and obviously it's successful because he's been doing it for several years. But he also had these big, huge, like commercial grade freezers and deep fryers, and during the off season he sells those. I just found it so interesting what people do and what they're talented in, and how they can see something and turn it into a business or a way to make a living, right? And we got in the truck, and my wife asked our kids, "Did you hear Daddy interviewing that guy?" But anyway, I just have that curiosity to like hearing people's stories. But what curiosity does, it helps a person to think, and it opens up and expands the possibilities beyond the ordinary. When you ask the question why, that thing will fire up your imagination. It opens up options. What it can do, it can take people beyond the ordinary and leads to extraordinary living, right? Albert Einstein, he said, all meaningful and lasting change starts first in your imagination, then it works its way out. Taking the time to get curious. So in the book, The 15 Laws of Growth, John talks about there are 10 ways to cultivate curiosity. And I believe curiosity is one of the steps to help you reach your true potential. It's taking the time to reflect and thinking about things that we may think are impossible and getting curious to find out how they can be possible. So one of the ways he talks about is believe you can be curious. So a lot of times people fill their minds with these limiting beliefs. They lack personal confidence or self-esteem, and what that does, it just creates a barrier for them, and it really puts a limitation on how and what they think, right? It limits their thinking. And this is one of the biggest things I see in people today is they just have limiting beliefs and they don't see the potential that they have. And personally, that is a passion of mine to help change that. I want to change that and help people see past their limiting beliefs. Really, when failing to reach your potential isn't really because of lack of capacity or ability to do it, but it's because people are unwilling to expand their beliefs and break new ground. Get out of that comfort zone. We cannot perform outwardly in a way that's inconsistent with how we think inwardly. What we think about ourselves, we aren't going to perform opposite of that. You can't be what you believe you aren't. But there's really good news, right? You can change your thinking, and as a result, you can change your life. I think that's great to know. Number 2, he says, have a beginner's mindset. So having a beginner's mindset, you have an attitude that's like a beginner. You have no image to uphold, and your desire is really to learn, right? As beginners, you're new at something, you're really wanting to grow and to learn. So having that beginner's mindset is a way to cultivate curiosity. If you ever feel like you've gotten to the top, you're at the top, you're going to stop growing from there, right? In the book, John talks about anytime a person is answering more than they are asking, you can be assured that they've slowed down in their growth and have lost the fire for personal growth. So keep that beginner's mindset. Number 3, John says, make why your favorite word, right? Why your favorite word. Early on in my leadership, I thought I was supposed to have all the answers. I thought, obviously, that's why I was a leader. I was supposed to have all the answers. But as I've grown and I've come to know that I don't necessarily have to know all the answers, but surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me in certain areas as a team, that really helps each one of us grow and to reach what we're trying to reach. Number 4, John says, spend time with other curious people. One of the quotes that I've heard Jim Rohn talk about is, you are the sum total of the 5 people you hang around with the most. So the 5 people that you're hanging around with, are they positive influences or negative influences? And as a kid or as parents, we tell our kids, you need to watch out who you're hanging out with, right? Because we know that influences them. Well, when does that stop? Right? Does that principle stop whenever we graduate or when we get a new job? No. Right? That principle is always there. So the people we associate with, they influence us directly. So hanging out with other curious people. The other thing is, number 5 is learn something new every day. Right? One of the best ways to remain curious is to begin each and every single day with a determination to learn something new. Maybe to experience something different or meet someone that you've never met before. If you look at successful people and unsuccessful people, most unsuccessful people, they just accept their day. They tune things out and they just really simply hoping to endure the day, right? But if you look at successful people seize their day. They focus in and they ignore the distractions. So if when you're thinking about seizing your day, take the time to reflect on it, right? Take the time to check your wins and your losses. What were the learnings of the day, and how can you apply those going forward? It doesn't really do us any good to see something new without taking the time to think about it, right? It doesn't do us any good to hear something new without applying that. I found the best way to learn is really at the end of my day, I ask myself those 4 questions. What did I learn today? Or where did I get the win at today? Where did I fail? What were the decisions, or what was the process leading up to that? And how can I apply that going forward? Right? So asking myself and reflecting on that day. Number 6, John says, is partake in the fruit of failure. Most people, they see failure and mistakes and errors as a sign of weakness. When they fail, they say, I'll never do that again. I ain't doing that again. But the people who have a growth mindset and who want to grow and develop, they see failure as a sign of progress. Because what they know is that it's impossible to continually try something without failing sometimes. And the fear of failure is really one of the biggest things I've seen people that hold people back from taking action and being what God created them to be and reaching their true potential. Just that fear of just taking action. Number 7, stop looking for the right answer. I can tell you there's not a right answer. There's always more than one solution to any problem. If you believe that there's only one right solution, I can tell you, you're either going to get frustrated because you can't find it, or if you think you found it, then you're going to stop searching for other possible options, and you may miss a better opportunity or a better idea, right? So if Roger Van Oak, he wrote a book, it's called A Whack on the Side of the Head, right? And he says almost every advance in art, in cooking, medicine, agriculture, engineering, marketing, politics, education, design has occurred when someone challenged the rules and tried another approach. They tried another approach. Number 8, get over yourself, right? If John says if you're going to ask questions and allow yourself to fail, then reality, you're going to look foolish sometimes. And most people don't like that. Now, nobody wants to look foolish, but it's going to happen. You're going to fail. You just got to get over yourself. Again, Roger Van Oak says, if you never tried anything that might make us look ridiculous, we'd still be in the caves, right? We'd still be cavemen. We would never get out of that cave. We'd be afraid to do something. Number 9, you got to get out of the box. Thomas Edison says, there ain't no rules around here. We're trying to accomplish something, right? So when you put rules or limitations on what you're trying to accomplish, you limit what you can do. Good ideas, they're everywhere. But sometimes it's hard to see them when you don't look outside your box. So don't stay confined in that box. People need to break down the walls of their boxes. They got to get out and become hunters of ideas. You got to hunt them ideas down, right? Again, we're talking about being curious here. I'm just going to read this right here because I think it's great. This is another quote from Clemmer. He says, when average people ask themselves, can I do this? They base it on the circumstances they see. An abundant thinker asks different questions. An abundant thinker asks, how can I? This is just a simple twist, and it changes everything. It forces your mind to create a solution. So the best way to make a sluggish mind active is all you do is you've got to disturb its routine. You've got to get outside the box, and that's what will make it happen. The last one, number 10, is enjoy your life. Enjoy life. Perhaps the greatest way that we can remain curious and keep growing is to enjoy life, right? There's so much out there that we can enjoy, and life is meant to live, right?